We are pleased to welcome you all to today's webinar. Yes, so a very good afternoon to all the attendees. I am Devansh. I will be your host for the day. I take care of marketing events for Spinco Biotech. Along with me today, I have Mr. Rodolphe Penanek, the Chief Executive Officer of SEDER ELSD Solutions. I also have with me Mr. S.R. Manivanan, the Executive Vice President for Spinco Biotech, who heads the ELSD division for India as well as the non-pharma division for India. I'm pleased to welcome you all, dear participants. So today's webinar is focused on the different solutions provided by SEDERE for ELSD, and the focus will be on applications in the pharmaceutical and food safety domain. So before I begin, I would like to give a brief introduction about SEDERE. So SEDERE is the industry leader in the manufacture of low temperature evaporative light scattering detectors, also known as LT-ELSD, for HPLC, UHPLC, HTLC, micro HPLC, GPC, preparative HPLC, flash chromatography, countercurrent chromatography, and SFC. Throughout the years, the focus has always been on catering to the customer's versatile needs. The product range consists of 6 different LTE-LSDs, from entry-level unit to fully automated analysis systems powered by a plethora of drivers. This proprietary technology provides SEDERE with 100% turnover, and thanks to the established distribution network across the world, over 95% of the products are distributed across the world. With over 30 years of experience, SEDEX brings innovation, fidelity, and unparalleled performance for a range of chromatography applications. Since then, with over 30 years of experience and innovation under the belts, they are working around the clock to deliver high performance, high fidelity LTE-LSD products for the chromatography industry. SEDERE's partners for India is Spinco Biotech. Spinco Biotech is the leading distributor and channel partner in India, and the motto is to bring the latest of technology and enabling science in labs across India. Established in 1981, now we are celebrating 40 years of excellence in supporting the scientific community with 33 offices pan India and more than 750 Spincoites. Spincoites comprising of our sales team, service support team, application team, as well as the admin team. We have been representing SEDERE since the last 4 years and now have crossed more than 30 installations of SEDERE ELSDs across India. I now request Mr. S.R. Manivanan to please give the introductory remarks.
Thank you very much, Devansh. So, today's webinar is hosted by Dr. Rodolphe from SEDERE France. So, Spinco is having the expertise in ELSD technology for the past 23 years. The first ELSD we have supplied to CLRI way back in 1997, and we have close to 100 units of ELSD supplies in India. So Spinco has an expertise both on application as well as on support of the ELSD. Okay, without wasting much time, I would request Rodolphe to take over and present the solutions, what he can offer for pharma and food.
Yes, the speaker for the day today is Mr. Rodolphe Penanek. He is currently working as the Chief Executive Officer for SEDERE based in France. So he has previously worked as an application manager with SEDERE after the completion of his PhD in analytical chemistry from the University of Orleans, France. He has also served as an R&D laboratory manager with Sanofi Aventis, and post that he has worked as a general manager for STS Solutions in techniques and separation. We are pleased to invite, and we are honored and privileged to be associated with SEDERE and Dr. Rodolphe Penanek, and we are pleased to invite Dr. Penanek for the talk. Handing over to you, Dr. Penanek.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction. I wish you a good afternoon to all of you. So I will present you the company and the products we propose only on the ELSD market. So at first, I just want to give you a brief introduction about the company. So CDR is a French company. We are based only in France. We have our headquarters nearby Paris, at the south of Paris, in a city called Alfortville. And the main part is the production plant on R&D laboratory, which is based close to Orléans. Our company is still a family-owned business company. We do all our turnover on the ELSD market, so we don't have any other product than ELSD. And this turnover is made for more than 95% on exportation for many years. We have also worldwide distribution partnerships, for example, in India with Spinco. Our markets are historically HPLC, but we have also solutions for the UHPLC, for SFC, and also for micro and low flow rates. And for about 1 decade, we are on the purification market, where we have solutions for both flash chromatography or preparative chromatography. Before explaining you about the ELSD, I just want to share with you the history of the ELSD, because for some of you, it's still a new detector. In fact, ELSD was introduced first in 1966 in a scientific publication in Australia. It has been quiet for more than 10 years, and it had been redescribed by Charles Goff in 1978, still in Australia. But the real story begins in the beginning of the 80s in France and United States, and also in UK, where people were looking for development of the ELSD. From this history, several prototypes have been issued. For CDR, the story begins in Orléans, so that's why the factory is still in Orléans, with Professor Michel Dreux in picture here. He was working on carbohydrates, so most of you know that carbohydrates do not have any chromophore, so you cannot use UV to detect carbohydrates. So at this time, he was looking for a performance detection for these carbohydrates, and he decided to get inspiration from the scientific publication in 1966 to build his own prototype. So this is actually the picture of the first prototype of Michel Dreux in the laboratory at the University of Orléans. This prototype was working quite well, so he decided to try to do some business. He met Henri Gangloff, who was the creator of CDR and who is now the non-executive president of the company, who was, on his behalf, trying to find a new product to launch because he was already on the HPLC market. He was providing auto-samplers at this time. He was agree with Professor Michel Dreux to do some business, so they start by first copying the prototype of Michel Dreux. So Henri has built 3 prototypes from the prototype of Michel Dreux, and this is the start of the company. So the story, as Devansh told you, is more than 30 years now, with the prototypes being manufactured in 1988. The first commercial device is 1989, starting with the SEDEX LTE LSD 45. So just one brief introduction about France. France is split in districts, almost 100. And Orléans is located in the 45 districts. So that's why we start the count to 45. It's because it has been manufactured in Orléans initially. Then after we have several devices. And now we have 6 units, LTE LSD 85, LTE LSD 90, 80, LC, FP, and 100. So I will introduce you better those devices. Of course, we have started as a startup company, but now we are a well-established company. So all our detectors are provided with certification. We are CE since 2004. The manufacturing plant is working under ISO 901 since October 2005. We are also ROHS, restriction on hazardous substances, since 2007. And our ELSDs are also CSA or UL certified since 2008. One thing which is also important, because we have also evolved on this market, is that we are also providing driver control for our products, which means that you can integrate SEDEX ELSD with most of the chromatography systems on the market. We have drivers for Clarity ChemStation, OpenLab ChemStation, the new OpenLab ODS2. We have also EasyChrome and OpenLab EasyChrome. Chromeleon 7.2, which is the last one, Chromegate, Excalibur, ChromSquared. If you use Lab Solution Shimadzu, we can also provide you some control under the Lab Solution software. About our offer, so as I told you, we have 6 units. On the left-hand side, we have the SEDEX FP. FP stands for Flash and Prep. This one is purely dedicated to purification. So the sensitivity is not the best optimization. We are looking mainly for huge dynamic range to avoid signal saturation. So the SEDEX FP is optimized for this huge dynamic range. On the right-hand side, the 5 units are the analytical ELSDs with the SEDEX 80, LC 85, 90, and 100. The main differences are the sensitivity. So this is the typical sensitivity of those ELSDs. So LC is 5 nanogram, 85 is 1 nanogram, half a nanogram for the 90, and a quarter of nanogram for the 100. Also, the option of nebulizers. Just for your information, we have now some special offers on the SEDEX LC and the SEDEX 85 in India. So Spinko can tell you more about this in further slides. One thing which is also very important to understand on the CDR offer is that we are the only one on the market to provide you exchangeable nebulizer, which means that the user can exchange the nebulizer by himself. You can do it very easily. You don't need any tool, only by hand. So you just have to unscrew the black nut and extract the nebulizer so that you can put another one. This has 2 main advantages. The first one is that this ELSD is not a black box. You can do it. You need to clean your nebulizer, replace it. You can do it by yourself. It's very easy. And also, one strong point is that you can adapt the ELSD to your need. We have several nebulizers, some nebulizer dedicated for HPLC, some other one for UHPLC, some other one for SFC or for purification, so that when you have one ELSD from CDR, you can exchange the nebulizer with another type of nebulizer. I have one illustration for you. This has been done on one ELSD. The first analysis, so we are clearly in UHPLC technique. The first try was done with a HPLC nebulizer inside the ELSD. And you see that we have the red chromatogram. Then after, we have rerun exactly the same analysis by swapping the HPLC nebulizer inside the ELSD by a UHPLC nebulizer. And then you get the blue chromatogram. And what we see is that in those UHPLC conditions, the UHPLC nebulizer behaves better than the HPLC nebulizer because it's optimized for UHPLC. You see that the peak shape is better peak width, better symmetry. So you can adapt the ELSD to your needs to get better results with your chromatography. Now, let me introduce you about the basics of ELSD, and then after I will explain you about the specialty of SEDEX, and then after the applications. So how does it work? So ELSD is a very simple ELSD, very simple. They use only a 3-step process. The first step is the nebulization, the second step is the evaporation, and the last step is the detection of light diffusion. Let's start with the first step. So I spoke to you about the nebulizer. So we use a Venturi nebulizer. This is the part you can replace by yourself. So this nebulizer, inside we have a needle in which the mobile phase from the colon enters. And we use a nebulization gas, which is preferably nitrogen, but that can be air. This gas is used in the Venturi process to transfer this flow of liquid mobile phase into a mist of droplets. It's exactly the same technology of the nebulizing can that you know already. The second step is the most important one. So I don't have any picture, but the second step, which is a heated tube. And the main parameter of the ELSD is the heat inside this tube. So the goal in that step, in that second step, is to transfer the mist of droplets into a mist of dried particles. So that the most important parameter is the heat that you will provide to the system that must be sufficient to evaporate all the mobile phase. And this is the main parameter. the third step is the diffusion of light in the me domain. So in fact, this is very physical, but we already know what is light diffusion. I have one example for you, which is coming from a Hollywood movie. So I will show you this movie, and then after I will explain what happened and why is it so close from the ELSD process. So this movie illustrates perfectly what is light diffusion. So let me explain you. At first, she uses some kind of nebulizer. So she uses this can to provide some particles. And she sends those particles to the corridor in the movie where you have some laser light. And what we see is that we have the light going straight. You see light beam, so in some cases, you don't have light. What does happen is here you don't have any. Here you have a bunch of particles, so there is a lot of light diffusion. What appears clearly, this is the movie setup. You have the movie camera here, the laser light beam with the light source and the light sensor. Here is the fog. So as soon as you have only laser light, light goes straight. There is no light going to the camera, to the movie camera. Particles inside the fog. The light will hit the beam, the particles, sorry, and some light will be sent in all directions, and some ray of light will go to the movie camera. This is so of course, it's not the same setup. So in an ELSD, this is the setup. We use a light source that can be LED, tungsten lamp, laser. We don't really care about that. This light source is used to provide a light beam, a straight one. We use a light trap just in front, just to avoid the light to go back in the optical head. So only one tube, the second step. And if you have some microparticles in front of the light beam, there will scatter light due to the light diffusion. We can detect it as soon as we have a photodetector. So the photodetector is not in front of the light beam, it's shifted from 120 degrees, 60 degrees, 90 degrees direction in light diffusion. And this photodetector is able to detect if there is diffusion or not. So I have a small cartoon to explain you how we detect a peak in chromatography with ELSD. At first, we have this light source, the light beam, photodetector, evaporation tube, so the second step of ELSD, and here is the chromatogram. If you have only mobile phase, no peak. In that case, you only have mobile phase that will be totally evaporated at the end of the evaporation. That means that in that case, there is no light diffusion. The light goes straight. The photomultiplier do not see any light. So that will be your baseline. Then after, if one peak outputs from the column, it will enter the ELSD, will be nebulized, dried, and then the particle will enter the optical head. What will happen is that those particles will enter the optical head, increase the amount of light diffusion, increase the amount of light seen by the photomultiplier. This is the beginning of the peak. And then after, inside an ELSD, this is a continuous flow of gas, so everything is pushed through the optical head. So those particles will be output to the exhaust, decreasing the amount of light diffusion, decreasing the amount of light seen by the photomultiplier. This is the end of the peak. So a peak is simply detected by the presence of some particles inside the optical head, nothing else. So the good point with the physical properties of light diffusion is that the detection of light diffusion do not depend on the solutes. Whatever is the solute, ionizable or without any chromophore, it will be detected as soon as it's liquid or solid after the evaporation. The only thing we cannot detect is gas with evaporative light scattering detectors. The other good point of ELSD, of light scattering is that the light scattering amount is directly related to the concentration of the compound, which means that you can do quantitation with ELSD. As you do it with UV, it will work too. It's typically a universal process. You will detect everything as soon as it's non-volatile. Now, I will just stop a few minutes to send you a quiz. So, Devansh, maybe you can send the quiz.
Sure. So we have a few poll questions. I just launched the poll questions. Yes. This will help us in understanding which applications to focus on. So the question is, which of the following sectors do you belong to? Options are pharmaceuticals, food analysis, testing lab, academia research, and other. Okay, so we'll have 10 more questions, 10 more minutes to 10 more seconds to answer this. Sorry. Okay, I'll end the poll. Fine. So majority of the participants are from pharmaceuticals, but it's a mixed crowd. So fine, we'll focus on all the applications. And I have one more question. So which of the following instruments are you currently using? Select all that apply. ELSD, RID, LCMS, CAD detector, or none of the above. Yes, we have 10 more seconds for answering. Okay, thank you for answering. So 24% are already using ELSD, 25% are using RID, 38% are using LCMS, 9% are using CAD, and for 40%, all these are new technologies. So thank you. These were the questions. You can continue, Dr. Pananik.
Thank you very much for your answers. So now I have explained you how works the ELSD. So what is important is to understand what does the ELSD offers comparing to other detection techniques. This is just a small chart comparing the ELSD to other detection techniques. We compare here the ELSD with UV, RID, and mass spectrometry. At first, the universality parameter. So ELSD is a semi-universal detector, which means that you will be able to detect every component which is non-volatile. UV detector is not universal because you need a chromophore. So, for example, carbohydrates and some lipids or amino acids are not well detected by UV because it's not universal. RID is universal, so it's really a universal detector. On mass spectrometry, it's not a chromophore that is needed, it's an ionization group. So if your solid is not ionized, you cannot detect it with mass spectrometry. So mass spectrometry can be very sensitive, it is specific, but it's not universal. About the gradient compatibility, ELSD evaporates all the mobile phase, which means that it's totally compatible with gradient. With UV, you can experience some baseline drift, but in most cases, it's totally okay. But with refractive index detector, you cannot use gradient. It's not possible. With mass spectrometry, this is a common point with ELSD. We are evaporating also the mobile phase, which means that it's compatible with gradient. About the normal phase compatibility, ELSD is compatible with normal phase without any problem. UV, RID too. With mass spectrometry, you have to consider changing your ionization source if you move to normal phase. About the easiness of use, and it's very important, ELSD from CDR is only one parameter ELSD, so it's very simple to optimize. I will explain you how to optimize the ELSD. It's mainly related to the mobile phase you use, so it's very straightforward. UV, only one parameter of the chromophoric, the wavelength. RID has no parameter. On mass spectrometry, if you want to optimize it, there are many parameters. Response coefficient, and this is very interesting in the pharma industry, the response coefficient of ELSD is very, very homogeneous over several chemical families, which means that clearly with ELSD, and we have some scientific publication about that fact, you can do unknown quantitation using other standards. If you have a non-known impurity on a chromatogram, you will be able to do quantitation on this non-known impurity with another standard without doing a big mistake on the quantitation. While with UV, you know that the response coefficient, because of the Beer-Lambert's law and the epsilon, you can have a huge response coefficient with different molecules. With the RID also, you can have big differences in quantitation over different compounds. And with mass spectrometry too, because of the ionization yield. I just want to show you a real data about the response factor. In that example, we focus on carbohydrates, so you can detect carbohydrates with UV at very low wavelength. We use the glucose as the reference peak, and we check the peak size of all those carbohydrates in the same method with UV. If you check the glucose as the reference on the other one, you do a RSD on the values, there is 100%, which means that statistically, if you use glucose to quantify one of those carbohydrates, so this one as a reference to quantify another carbohydrates, the error you made might be 100%, a factor of 2. With RID, exactly the same conditions, glucose, all those carbohydrates, glucose is the reference. The typical error is about 50%. Let's take a look at the ELSD. ELSD, with the same conditions, 7%, which means that if you use glucose standard to quantify one of those carbohydrates, statistically, the error is 7%. Okay, and this is the only detector on the market that shows these type of results. There are many scientific publications about that subject showing between 10 and 20% error on quantitation of unknown using known standards. About the mass spectrometry, you have to keep in mind that mass spectrometry is not every time more sensitive than ELSD. Of course, if you don't have any ionization, ELSD will be more sensitive. Also keep in mind, this is the previous slide, that the response factors of ELSD are more consistent than mass spectrometry because mass spectrometry response factors do depend on the ionization yield that you cannot master really because it's compound dependent. So in fact, ELSD with mass spectrometry is in a sense a winning combination because ELSD will provide you another information. And I have just one thing to show you. This is something I found on the Shimadzu website, stating which type of mass spectrometry to use depending on the solute you have, depending on the polarity of the solute, so non-polar to highly polar, and from small molecules to big molecules. Of course, non-polar small molecules are typically analysis, volatile molecules. For non-polar to medium polarity, it's typically normal phase, so you will use IPCI ionization. And then after, this is typical reverse phase that you will use electrospray ionization with mono-charged ion or multi-charged ion. One setup of ELSD will cover all those setups of mass spectrometry. So you can combine both ELSD and mass spectrometry to get the full picture of your sample. So what we are promoting is the idea that ELSD should be a complement to a multi-detector setup. For example, in a sense, what is the perfect combination for R&D laboratory or discovery is this type of setup with HPLC. The output of the column goes to the UV, which is non-destructive detector, and the effluent from the UV is sent to a split with two destructive detectors. One aliquot goes to the ELSD, and one other one to the mass spectrometer, so that you can get the full picture of your sample with mass spectrometry, diode array or UV, and ELSD. If you have one peak in ELSD or in UV that you can't find in mass spectrometry, it means that there is something that is not ionized. Okay, so this type of setup is quite powerful if you have some analysis with some unknown inside. I will introduce now the advantages of the CEDEX LT ELSD design, because what we say in CDR is that we are not providing ELSD solution, we are providing low temperature evaporative less scattering detector, LT-ELSD. So it's the brand of CDR. Just to make you understand the interesting thing about LT-ELSD, I must show you the ID beside the ELSD. From the very beginning, the simple idea is that your mobile phase is totally volatile and does not give any signal. Your solutes are non-volatile and give you a peak. But in fact, if you want to go deeper in the ELSD use, the real sentence to keep in mind is that the ELSD is able to detect every compound which is less volatile than the mobile phase. And this is the true sentence of using an ELSD. I have one illustration to show you. Because you know, all compounds are not non-volatile, some are semi-volatile and some are volatile. So this is an illustration with urea. Urea is not stable over temperature. If you eat too much urea, it degrades into gases. And I told you from the beginning that ELSD is not able to detect gases. In this application, I have done exactly the same urea injection, 500 ppm, in an ELSD, and this is the temperature of the evaporative tube temperature of the ELSD, the second step of the ELSD process. And you see that from 40 to 34, the urea peak increases a lot. Why? Simply because by decreasing the temperature, we preserve better the urea, which means that there are more urea to detect at the light diffusion step, so that the peak is bigger. And if you want to do optimization, you can do it. It's very easy. You just have to replicate the run with different settings of ELSD tube temperature. This is the tube temperature. This is the urea peak size. If you decrease the temperature, the peak of urea increases. It's pretty straightforward. But there is one limit. If you go too low, so we are moving from 40 to 34 to 30 degrees, you see that the urea peak is increasing, but you have some problem with the noise if you go too low in temperature. Those peaks, this noise, is mainly due to non-evaporative droplets. Clearly, going from 34 to 30 degrees, at 30 degrees, you don't have enough heat inside the ELSD to evaporate all the mobile phase you send with urea. Here again, you can optimize it. Here is the evaporative tube temperature. Here is the noise value. And you see that decreasing the temperature this way, at first high temperature, you don't have any noise change, but at this temperature, the noise drops a lot. It increases a lot. In fact, this is the precise point where the heat inside the ELSD is just enough to evaporate the mobile phase. If you go higher, there is no change on the noise because the mobile phase is already evaporated at this temperature. So higher temperature will give you safety, but it's enough already. If you go lower, you will increase the noise because more and more droplets will be still detected at lower temperature. If we combine the urea area as a function of the evaporative tube temperature with that noise figure, we will have this bell-shaped signal-to-noise ratio of urea depending on the evaporative tube temperature with one optimal temperature for urea. Going higher temperature will decrease the signal-to-noise ratio of the urea by decreasing the peak size of urea. Going too low will decrease the signal-to-noise ratio of urea because increasing of the noise value. So there is an optimum value. But if you mind about the slide I showed you about the optimization, this optimum temperature is not related to urea, it's related to the noise value because of the mobile phase, which means that if you want to optimize your ELSD temperature, you just have to focus on the mobile phase composition and flow rate, which means that if you start every time your chromatography with, for example, water acetonitrile 1 ml a minute, it will be always the same temperature as the optimum. So it's very straightforward to optimize. It's related to your mobile phase and flow rate and not to the solutes. Every time, of course, the optimum temperature is the lowest. Because the lowest is the temperature, the more easy for you would be to preserve the semi-volatile solute and get better detection of semi-volatile solute. The lower is the temperature, the more universal is the ELSD because you will be able to detect semi-volatile solute more easily with low temperature. And that's why in CDR we are promoting from the very beginning the concept of LT-ELSD active light scattering detector because the ELSD from CDR are designed to provide this kind of setup with low temperature evaporation of the mobile phase. Now, I just want to show you some applications about the ELSD. So since it's a universal detector, it's not very easy to select very good applications. So I've selected many families. Hopefully, you will be able to find an application of interest for your tasks. One of the first historical applications for the ELSD are the
Excuse me, Rodolphe.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Rodolphe. Can you please check your microphone and increase the volume? Because some of the participants requested the volume to be raised a little bit. Yeah.
I am at the maximum.
That is fine.
I am
While you are speaking a little bit louder, is fine. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
okay.
the first application I want to show you is the carbohydrates analysis, which is the historical application for ELSD, because the carbohydrates are non-volatile. Are non-volatile and do not have any chromophore. And the big difference between ELSD and RID, because RID was also quite often used for carbohydrates, is that with ELSD, we can use gradient, which means that we can shorten the analysis time, and we can also have better sensitivity because the peak are much thinner with ELSD than with RID in isocratic mode. So this is a typical synthetic mix of carbohydrates, just to show that it's possible. Usually we use an amino column with reverse phase tight gradient, and you see that all those carbohydrates are well separated on that analysis. It's very easy with ELSD. Of course, we can use synthetic mix, but we can also analyze some real samples. So this is two applications. The first one with onions. So onions, of course, contain some carbohydrates. So in that case, we use a carbohydrate dedicated column in a reverse phase type gradient. And you see that all those samples are well separated. The same type of thing with corn syrup. It's quite interesting because this corn syrup does contain some polymers of maltose. And you see that all the polymers are well separated using this type of column with the SEDEX ELSD as a detector. So it's pretty straightforward to optimize the ELSD for carbohydrates. This is also another application that we have developed. It was for Coca-Cola company. They were looking for fruit juices about the quantification of cellobiose, which is a disaccharide, which is for them a quality indicator of the quality of the juices they use. So we have developed this with an old C18 column in pure water. You can have some retention of carbohydrates with all columns using pure water. And this is the proof. This is sucrose, fructose, glucose. And the cellobiose is this small disaccharide here that you can quantify with ELSD in that sample. I have another application with honey. So in that case, I will highlight the interest of using several detectors in the combination. We want to develop something about honey control. The first step is to assess the content of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates do not have any chromophore, so the ELSD will be the preferred detector for this application. But we want also to check the hydroxymethylfurfural content, HMF, which is this compound, which is a very good quality indicator for honey, because the HMF content will increase if the honey is not stored in good condition or if there is any counterfeit, which is in fact using sugar syrup, which is heated for a long time, which became looking like honey. So looking at the HMF will preserve you from counterfeit or bad storage honey. So in that case, we have developed the system with that setup, HPLC going to the UV. UV will be used for HMF, which is a very volatile solute. And then the sample goes through the ELSD for the carbohydrate content. This is the chromatogram we have developed. So we use a hypercarb column, which is pure carbon column. You have the fructose, glucose, sucrose, and on the UV, you have the HMF. here. So you have the complete analysis within one injection. As I told you, you can do quantitation with ELSD. ELSD is most cases linear. In some cases, it's not linear. It's not a big deal today because the software we are using now in the lab, I mean Chromelon, PenLab, or Lab Solution, are providing quadratic correlation for this type of detector. So you just have to toggle the quadratic relationship on this detector. But as I told you, in most cases, linearity is okay. So fructose and glucose, we stick to linear relationship with quite good regression coefficient. So we can do quantitation on fructose and glucose. For sucrose, it's not totally linear. There is some curve. So we are using a polynomial function so that the regression coefficient is okay. Okay. And for HMF, it's in UV. We are in the linear region, so it's okay with linear relationship. Of course, HMF is only in very small quantities. So we have done a matrix effect test. We are looking to the recovery. And in this sample, the recovery was 98%, which is generally acceptable in the validation. And then using this method, we have done the validation totally, and we have done some batch analysis with honey. So this validation was made in the pharma style validation with linearity, sensitivity, recovery test. But these are the results for 11 batch that we have available at the laboratory with fructose content, glucose content, sucrose content, and HMF content. In that case, 10 ppm was the smallest injection in the regression in the linearity study. So we give the result at 10 ppm or over. Unfortunately, for those batches, all the batches were compliant. We don't have any counterfeit in those selection of batches. Of course, that was an example for real carbohydrates. You can do also reverse phase analysis, which is very typical to pharmaceutical industry with sweeteners. So this is organic molecules. What is quite original is acesulfame. Acesulfame is sold as the acesulfame salt of potassium. And since potassium is non-volatile, it is detected by ELSD. And this is what you see here. The cation is the potassium which is introduced in the sample with acesulfame. So don't forget, ELSD will detect also ions. Okay. Of course, in reverse phase with a C18 colon, all cation or anions will be in the void volume. So there is no retention, but you can detect them with ELSD. Another historical applications are the apolar products, for example, lipids, phospholipids, fatty alcohols, triglycerides. So here is also a synthetic mix with several compounds that you can use for food industry, pharmaceutical industry, or also cosmetic industry. In that case, it's typical reverse phase analysis. We are more in the high resolution than in the high speed chromatography. We use sub 2 microns particles, but a long column in order to have a lot of theoretical plates to get the separation of all those compounds within 45 minutes. What is very interesting with that one is that we use acetone in the mobile phase. This is something you cannot do with UV, because with UV, the UV cutoff of the acetone is too high and you cannot detect anything as soon as you use acetone. But with the ELSD, since we evaporate the mobile phase, the fact that there is acetone in the mobile phase is not a problem anymore. And acetone in the mobile phase is quite interesting to get some special selectivities to better separate some compounds. So with ELSD, you can free your mind about the use of several solvents, because with ELSD, it's not a problem to use this kind of solvents. And you see the baseline, there is absolutely no drift. A real application, so here we are totally in the food industry, looking for phospholipid in dairy products. This is historical method where we use normal phase with silica colon, but this is something you can do. Those compounds are not volatile at all, so it's very easy to do with ELSD. The mobile phase is totally volatile too, so it's very, very easy to do. One thing you can do with the ELSD too is various samples with different polarity. ELSD, since we evaporate the mobile phase, does have absolutely no problem if you use wide gradients. And for example, this is an example with vitamins, with apolar and polar vitamins. The first eluted vitamins are the polar ones, but on the same chromatogram, we have also apolar. If you check the literature, most people are using UV or RID, and they have two methods, one for apolar and one for polar vitamins. With ELSD, since we evaporate the mobile phase and since those solutes are non-volatile, you can do all the vitamins in one run. So this is typical reverse phase analysis. We use a mixed mode column and we have all the solutes within 25 minutes. And the last historical application for ELSD are the amino acids. So when I speak about amino acids, I also can extend it to peptides and proteins. It's exactly the same. So in that case, all the amino acids are non-volatile. So you can detect them without any derivatization. There is no need for derivatization as soon as you use an ELSD. So this is an application where we have all those 22 amino acids that are directly detected by ELSD. Of course, to get the retention, we use C18 colon and we have to use an ion pairing agent. You have to use a volatile ion pairing agent, which is in that case heptafluorobutyric acid. But as soon as you use this C18 colon with ion pairing agent, you can have detection of those amino acids without any derivatization step. So it's direct detection of amino acids. It's the same for peptides and proteins. I will go fast on that one with the plants. You can, of course, analyze plants with ELSD. Plants is very interesting with ELSD because most of plants have a lot of products for which some have no chromophore. So people are using more and more the ELSD in the plant analysis. And also, if you are seeking some interesting products inside plant in the pharma industry or in the cosmetic industry, you can use ELSD. So this is T-sample where you can see all those compounds. You even can see the caffeine, which is a thermosensitive solute, which is this peak with ELSD. As soon as you optimize the temperature, you will detect semi-volatile solute without any problem. Another sample with green tea. So in that case, I just want to highlight the fact that ELSD is more universal than UV. So we are comparing the UV data at 280 and 255 nanometers with ELSD. And you see obviously that the ELSD is providing more information on that sample than UV. Of course, this is the benefit of using a universal detector. You will see more things that you see usually with UV. We have also some analysis with ELSD described in the Pharmacopoeia. In the European Pharmacopoeia, we have this application for ginkgo. And of course, this is the reason why. This is the UV trace on the upper chromatogram. And you see that even at low wavelength, you can't get good detection with ginkgo light samples, while with ELSD, it's very simple to get this good detection of samples. So ginkgo light are described for analysis with ELSD in the European Pharmacopoeia, and that's the reason why ELSD provides far better results. This is European Pharmacopoeia. They are not keen to use UHPLC, so it's quite slow. You can speed up the analysis. So in that case, we use a UHPLC nebulizer, and we have shortened the analysis time below 6 minutes to do the same thing. It's also very easy to do with ELSD. And last one, application of plants. This is also showing the universality of the detector. In that case, it's mango bean analysis, where you have isoflavone and saponins inside the sample. Saponin is a class of molecules which do not possess any chromophore. So of course, UV can't detect the saponins, while with ELSD, it's very easy to get. You have both isoflavone and saponins. The last part of the applications I want to show you are more dedicated to pharma analysis. So we do some mixes of APIs just to show you that it works simply. This is typical API analysis at pH 3. So we use a XBridge C18 column. It's very classical with water acetonitrile with a bit of formic acid as the modifier. Typical API analysis. So you see that all those peaks are well resoluted, well detected with the ELSD. Even caffeine, which is a semi-volatile solute, is detected here without any problem. Of course, some people might have to analyze some basic compounds, which are more challenging in reverse phase because of the peak shape with a big asymmetry factor. With the ELSD, you can increase the pH. There is no limitation for that. So we have selected some APIs that are clearly basic, but we have increased the pH in order to get good peak shape. So the asymmetry factor is quite good and the peak width is okay. So still a C18 column. This one handles well the high pH. In that case, we use ammonium acetate, which is volatile with water and acetonitril, and you see that we can get this good separation within 15 minutes of very basic compound. We can go deeper with pH 11, so there is no limitation with the ELSD. You can go with very high pH. In that case, we have taken the most basic compounds that we can find, which are the beta blockers, which are keen to show disturbance with asymmetry and pigtailing in acidic conditions. So that's why with pH 11, it's okay. Analysis, so you see that the peaks are symmetric and the sensitivity is quite good. In that case, we use pure triethylamine as the modifier in the mobile phase. 20 millimolars of triethylamine allows us to raise the pH to 11. For the ELSD, it's not a problem. On this column, the extend handles the high pH for a long time. Another application, some of you might have some APIs that are available as salts of potassium, sodium, chloride, or whatever. Just keep in mind that the ELSD is able to also help you to quantify or qualify the counterion you have with your API. And this is just one application with APIs that are salts. On the big peaks are the APIs, on the small peaks are the counterions. Peak number 2 is sodium, this is potassium, this is chloride, and this is nitrate, which are bundled with the APIs here. So clearly, you need a special column. So in that case, we use a Trinity P1, which is a trimodal column. This column provides you reverse phase type, but also anion and cation exchange, so that you can do retention of ions, but also separation of the APIs. But ELSD will detect also the ions. The last application I want to show you is one of the last applications we have developed with PEGs. So PEGs are in some cases APIs, but are also used as modifier in formulation. So those are polymers of ethylene glycol. So we have first developed a method with the SELECT-LC, typical HPLC method. So in that case, we have done a synthetic mix with PEG 200 up to PEG 2000. And you see that we have more than 40 peaks within 12 minutes. All the peaks are well separated, starting from ethylene glycol, the small one, to 2 molecules of ethylene glycol, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And after we have taken this method and we shifted to the SELECT 100 in UHPLC, so we have shortened the analysis. So in that case, we have a 25% reduction of the duration of the method at 8.5 minutes with the SELECT 100, and it's the same mix. You have the same results, but in a faster time. And you see that all those polymer of PEGs well separated and well detected within 8.5 minutes. One thing which is very important with this kind of analysis is the LT analysis, low temperature analysis. And this is a real illustration with a real sample. You have to know that ethylene glycol is semi-volatile, and smaller PEGs are also semi-volatile. This is what can happen if you don't optimize the temperature or if you use a ELSD, which is not low temperature ELSD. Here is the results you can get with 80 degrees evaporative tube temperature, 60 degrees, and 45. If you check the 80 degrees chromatogram, you see a perfectly regular polymer analysis with a beautiful shape. It looks perfectly normal. But if you decrease the temperature, what you see is that some peaks are clearly missing on the 80 degrees chromatogram. What does it mean? It's that 80 degrees is too high, and those peaks are the more volatile PEGs, and they are partially or totally evaporated and are not detected by the ELSD. So that's why for the very beginning, I speak about low temperature analysis. It's because it's very important. The lower you are, the more universal is the ELSD. And you see that for the PEGs, if you base your quantification on this high temperature setup, you are likely to do a big mistake. This is the data. Evaporative tube temperature of the ELSD. Here is the chromatogram, so the size of the peaks. And this is the average polymerization degree that we determine on the peak size here. And you see that if you run too high temperature, your average polymerization degrees is shifted by 1 unit. At 80 degrees, the sample, you think it's a 7.7 polymerization degree. while the reality is 6.8. And you see that if you decrease the temperature, this is not moving anymore because below 50 degrees, you have the full sample which is preserved, so your quantitation is okay. So that's why running every time the lower temperature you can do is the best idea because you are more universal. If you have semi-volatile solutes, unknown impurities, you are likely to see that with low temperature analysis. That was my last slide. So if you have any question, I will be happy to reply.
Yeah, Rodolphe, there are a few questions which is in the Q&A box, which we can reply during the end of the webinar.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Rodolphe Pranik. That was a
Thank you.
wonderful presentation. You got a good insight of all the applications, all the useful applications that can be performed using an ELSD detector. I now request Mr. S.R. Manivanan to talk about the support from Spinco Biotech for CEDER ELSD in India. Again, if you have any questions, please type in the Q&A box. We are overwhelmed with questions now, lots of questions being asked, and we'll take all of them at the end of the session. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Devansh?
Yes.
Can you please share the screen?
So can you try again now? So can you try screen sharing again now? Hello?
Yeah. Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible, sir. So presentation mode's a request.
Yeah. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Rodolphe has in-depth dealt on the basics of ELSD, as well as few applications in pharma and food. So I am not going into the technical aspects of ELSD in my presentation. What I wanted to focus is to apprise you on our Spinco support, as well as a special offer given by CEDRE and Spinco. Okay, as all of you are aware, Spinco Biotech founded in the year 1981, and for the past 4 decades, we are providing solutions for analytical instrumentation and life science instrumentation needs. So customization is the cornerstone of our company since the inception. To talk about Spinco's network, we have currently 33 offices with more than close to 700 Spincoites working all India. 6 regional offices with 15 branch offices, and we also have few satellite offices like in places like Badi and Jammu. So we can provide you the within 24 hours support to any of the customers anywhere in India. Okay, so as mentioned by Devansh, our team includes application support, IT, information support, informatics support, as well as the back office inventory and admin support. We have close to 300 people working with us for the service department. So which means we can provide you the best service support as well as the application support. Okay, Spinco has invested a lot in the support aspect. See, we do have customer experience zone everywhere in India. You can see Spinco Towers, Chennai, which is our headquarters. This is a 50,000 square feet facility. In this, the first floor is totally dedicated for customer support. We have close to 5 mass spec, 10 HPLCs, 3 different models of ELSDs present in this uh, application support laboratory. So we will be able to provide you the best method and application support. We do have our regional offices, Spinco towers, with the same kind of HPLC lab setup in Hyderabad, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Delhi, and Bangalore. Of course, Chandigarh, Pune, and Vizag. These are all the new additions just started in less than 1 year time. This is the customer support center in Chennai, which I was talking about. This is just one portion of our 10,000 square feet laboratory. Here you can find I series, N series, P series, as well as the LCMOS and ELSD detector. In fact, we do have 3 different models of ELSD detector for customer support. You would like to analyze any of your sample or a new method support, we can certainly do it from our customer support center from Chennai. I was mentioning about our application team. We have close to 40 application scientists. So we have a domain specific field application specialist. For instance, pharma, we have close to 12, 13 people, and food testing, we have domain experts of 7, 8 people, and few experts who are dedicated for government and academia, as well as clinical and diagnostics. These domain experts, with their expertise and knowledge in the application, will be able to give you the professional training, the handholding, and even develop a method for you using our instruments and solutions. Okay. Earlier, I mentioned to you the first ELSD sold by Spinco was in the year 1997 to Central Leather Research Institute in Chennai. We are having 23 years of experience and expertise in ELSD, and Studray are the value partners for us. And this is the user list of ELSD supplies by Spinco. Many of these customers are using multiples of our ELSD. For instance, you take the Syngene are you having close to 10 Studray ELSDs, both in Bangalore as well as in Hyderabad. Gland Pharma also has close to 3 to 4 ELSDs in their different locations. We have also supplied to some of the regulatory authority labs, like this is the National Fisheries Development Board, and NIAB, National Institute of Animal Biotechnology, and CSMCRI. These are all some of the regulatory boards which are focusing on few commodities. Of course, you can find most of the renowned pharma companies like Zydus, and also Nicomed, Matrix, and Vidya Herbs, which is nothing but a natural product company, and BASF in Mumbai, Levim Biotech, which is a CRO in Chennai, Himalaya, which is again a natural products and drugs company in Bangalore, and universities. They are using our ELSD systems. TGC Life Science, which is Chem Biotech, it is again a contract research manufacturer. They are having multiples of HPLC. In fact, their facility has close to, I believe, 25 plus ELSDs in their this one, in which half of them are supplies from Spinco. Okay, so 2020 is a very, very important year for us because 2020, in the beginning of the year 2020, we have crossed many milestones that includes 22,000 Semester HPLCs and 6,000 I series, specifically I series model, and 400 LCMS systems. And of course, for the past 23 years, all our ELSD supplies put together, we have close to 100 ELSDs which is installed in India. So thank you all the customers for your support. So to celebrate the 100 ELSD installations along with our customers, Thirdray and Spinco together would like to offer a very, very special offer to you. So the Thirdray ELSD systems like 85LT and LC models. So the standard offer will be something like 1 year warranty without any maintenance. But in the year 2020, celebrating the 100 ELSDs supplies in India, we would like to provide, with the support of our principal Thirdray, a very special offer which is exclusive for India. That is the ELSD supplies from Thirdray, both 85LT model and LC model, will have a 3 years comprehensive warranty. I repeat, 3 years comprehensive warranty. What I mean by comprehensive warranty means it includes the consumable. Like we supply along with the system 3 light sources and 1 spare nebulizer. So the 3 years you need not have to buy anything. That includes 3 year warranty, 3 years including the AMC and the consumable. This is a very, very special offer with a lucrative pricings offered by Thirdray. And also, if you are existing user of our Simash2 HPLC with the lab solution software, Thirdray can provide you a special EEPROM through which you can have the control of the HPLC, control of the HPLC, including ELSD detector through lab solution. Of course, in his slide, Rodolphe has explained to you, Thirdray gives the drivers for Chromeleon 7.2, ChemStation, Open Lab, CDS, Excalibur, and so many other software. So these are all options. If you are having a Chromeleon server, you can just add that driver, which will through which you will be able to have a seamless control. Okay. Now, last but not least, I wanted to summarize the entire presentation of Rodolphe and Spinco. Why should you opt for Thirdray ELSD? Okay. Number one, Thirdray offers the unique low temperature evaporative light scattering detector. Of course, Mr. Rodolphe has very briefly explained you the advantages of low temperature analysis, explaining the urea and so many other applications, how a low temperature detection will help you to achieve the better sensitivity and better analysis and repeatability. And second point is Thirdray has the choice of 6 nebulizers. If you buy a 85LT ELSD, you can upgrade this to a preparative just by changing the preparative nebulizer. You can use this to a SFC just by changing this to a SFC nebulizer. You can also use this to a UHPLC by just changing the nebulizer. So 6 different choices of nebulizers are possible in our ELSD detector, which is not possible with any of our competitor. You need to decide which particular technology you would like to go. So they have a specific model for that. Whereas ours is very flexible. You can upgrade or change your nebulizer. Number 3, the cost of ownership. As I already explained to you, These are all very rugged and very much mm, uh, very rugged kind of detectors, wherein the maintenance is very, very less. So we are very much confident about our hardware design. We offer a 3-year warranty, including consumable. So just imagine you are not going to spend anything for the next 3 years. So that is the kind of low maintenance and cost of ownership you possess with Federal ELSD. Number four, Federal is the only company which offers software connectivity to Stomerion or OpenLab or Lab Solutions. And we have 3 different models, and these three different models can be connected to any make of HPLC, and through a analog to digital board, you can connect with any kind of software. Number five, as I already explained to you, our 2020 special offer, which comes with a 3-year warranty, including consumables. Of course, if you are having the old ELSDs in your lab, which is more than 5-6 years, you can exchange the old ELSD systems with our new ELSD, wherein you get special price as well as 3-year warranty with consumables. The old ELSDs can be used for our Indian Institute of Chromatography and Mass Spec, as well as SADRE's educational programs. Last but not least, all of you must be aware about Spinco's service support. The product like ELSD needs little bit application-oriented support also. That is why we have the field application committees to support you on the new application and new methodology. So once again, thank you very much, all the customers. We have reached 100 ELSDs in India. We could not have reached this far without your support. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. So now we'll move on to the questions. So we are overwhelmed with questions, lots of questions right now. So I'll begin with the first question. This is for Dr. Penanik. So any applications have been developed for a semi-preparative HPLC which can be linked to an ELSD?
Yes, with the Selex FP, there is no big deal to connect it. The only thing you have to take into account is that you must split the flow because ELSD is a destructive detector. So typically, we will use the same setup as mass spectrometry, a split, with the most of the element going to the fraction collector and a small flow going to the ELSD for the detection. Just for your information, we have integrated Selex ELSDs with flash chromatography for many years. So for semi-preparative chromatography, there is no problem.
Okay. So coupling of, one more question is, coupling of ELSD with MS has lesser advantages. How do you overcome this issue for low molecular weight organic compounds?
What do you think about the... I don't get the question. There is no limitation.
The question is, if we want to analyze low molecular weight organic compounds, so yeah, how will coupling of ELSD with MS help in this?
For the same reason I shown, the ELSD is more universal than mass spectrometry, which means that whatever is the molecular weight, as soon as it's semi-volatile, you will be able to detect it with ELSD, because ELSD is more universal than mass spectrometry.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, how can one fix the temperature for evaporation if two levels of mobile phase are involved? Let us say polar and non-polar and 50-50 ratio.
In fact, what we do usually is that we optimize the temperature for the less easy to evaporate mobile phase. So typically in reverse phase, we optimize it on the beginning of the gradient, which is more likely to contain a lot of water. The only exception is for helic mode, because you have a reverse phase. For helic, I optimize the temperature at the end of the gradient. But usually we have one setup of temperature, which is the optimum for the beginning of the gradient.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So the next question is, does temperature directly affect the area in ELSD?
Only for semi-volatile solutes, yeah. But
Okay,
for
thank you.
non-volatile, there is no impact on the area of the peaks.
Okay, fine. So next question is, how can the analyst ensure that the previously analyzed sample is not present in any inner part of the ELSD instrument before going for a new sample?
In fact, ELSD is clearly a tube. From the tip of the nebulizer to the exhaust, it's a tube. And this tube is flown with several liters a minute of nitrogen. So it's really unlikely to have some remains of the previous samples. It's exactly the same as a tubing for mobile phase. So it's really unlikely to get this kind of pollution. Whatever, there are some cleaning procedures in the manual which are very easy and convenient to launch. But honestly, in the laboratory, I never run any cleaning because I don't need it. It's really unlikely.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, if the mobile phase contains water and a buffer, can we use ELSD detector?
Sure, as soon as it's volatile again. So typically with the ELSD, you have to use mass spectrometry compatible mobile phases. So typically it's formic or ammonia, ammonium formate or ammonium acetate. This is the most typical. Or also HFBA if you want to do ion pairing, such as I've shown you with amino acids. But as soon as it's volatile, it's okay. So forget the phosphate buffers and switch to mass spectrometry compatible mobile phases, and it's okay with the LSD.
Okay, so one challenge that we face while using buffers in MS analysis is salting at the ionization source. We can see some deposition of particles. So how easy is it to clean the nebulizer in ELSD, in CEDAR ELSD?
In fact, the ELSD, you can unplug it very easily. You just have to unscrew the black nut I showed you in the picture. And then after, you put this nebulizer into a beaker with 1 centimeter of solvent, put it to the ultrasonic bath for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then put it back in the ELSD. Nothing else to do. It's very, very simple.
So this can be done by the analyst himself. No need to call
Sure.
an engineer.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can do it by yourself.
Okay, thank you. So one more question is, can we analyze chiral molecules with ELSD?
Sorry, which?
Chiral molecules.
Oh, yeah, of course. Here again, you have to select, if you use a buffer, it must be volatile. Your column must be chiral, of course. If not, you cannot separate these compounds. But we have some applications running with a chiral molecule. I did not show it, but we have it. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, fine. So the next question is, where do you see the applications in biopharma? So what are some biopharma applications? Also, can we design models as part of PAT tool to detect any compound in biopharma?
Yes, we do. It's a universal detector. So the most tricky thing is to get the perfect implementation to the need. I mean, you have to automatize all those things. But the ELSD, since you can connect it with drivers and with programs, it's very possible to do it, of course. For biopharma, there are two main applications. The first one is the process analytics. So to check the synthesis during its occurring, and also, of course, the control of the final product. Those are the two main applications.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, what are the variables which affect the detection capability of an ELSD, and how can they be controlled in the CEDAR ELSD?
I've shown you mainly the temperature, and only in the case of semi-volatile solutes. ELSD is very straightforward. So as soon as you are sure that you have enough heat in the system to evaporate the mobile phase, it will work. And this has only influences if you want to analyze semi-volatile solutes. So it's the only thing.
Okay, fine. This is a question for both Dr. Pananik and Mr. Vanivanan. So how do you compare your top model ELSD with other competitors in terms of sensitivity and performance?
Yeah, in fact, there was one slide shown by Rodolphe, which talks about 6 different models of ELSD what he was focusing. So our 85 LT model that goes up to 1 nanogram level of detection. And we do have a 100 LT model, but that goes up to 250 picogram, 4 times lesser than the 85 LT model. But we recommend you to go for 85 LT model because it is very much optimized for all the applications. You can use it for analytical, you can use it for UHPLC. You can also later just add a semi-prep nebulizer and convert this to a semi-prep system. In fact, this is the product what Cedre is supplying for the past few years as OEM to Himanshu themselves, their LT2 model. And 85 LT model of Cedre is a rugged and successful model, which has been positioned as OEM to other chromatography vendors also.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Rudolf, you would like to add anything in this?
No, nothing. Just one information because I did not show that data. If you use CAD, CEDEX 100 is about the same sensitivity as the CAD, the Corona VO, just to give you an idea about the sensitivity. If you are looking for CAD, it's equivalent.
Okay, okay, thank you. So since you mentioned that ELSD is a universal detector, so is it possible to have a combination of two detectors in tandem which can detect any compounds?
Yes, that's the idea of the multi-detector I shown you with UV, mass spectrometry on ELSD. It's likely to be almost a total universal detection system. As soon as you have 3 detectors, you are on the right side of the university.
Yeah, in fact, there was one question also earlier, whether ELSD can be used with MS also. Few of the customers, especially the medicinal, aromatic plant, natural product, this kind of application, the research laboratories, they are having the MDAP, we call it as mass directed auto purification system, with a 3 detector combination, a PDA detector and a ELSD detector and a mass detector. So they put a APV valve, that is the active splitter valve, after the PDA detector. In fact, this is configured with the preparative system also, preparative with the PDA, and they do collect some of the fraction. And after the PDA detector, they put a APV valve. In one portion goes to ELSD, other portion goes to the mass spec. So they get parallelly all the 3 data, PDA and ELSD as well as mass spec data.
Okay, okay. So, okay, there is one more question. I think this has already been discussed before. So can this ELSD detector work with any UHPLC like Thermos, Shimadzu, Agilent, Waters?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Of course.
Yeah. Just one addition, we use a standard HPLC fitting. So you just have to plug the output of the column to the input of the ELSD and it will work whatever is the brand of the HPLC.
All right, all right. And can this ELSD, SEDEX ELSD also be used for glycan analysis at intact level?
Sorry, I didn't.
Can the ELSD detector be used for glycan analysis in monoclonal antibodies?
I think it has been published, yeah, but it has been published, I think, in Discovery. I have to check the references, but since those compounds are non-volatile, yes, it can be clearly detected. I don't know about the sensitivity, however.
Yeah, Rudolf,
it can be done. Yeah.
Rudolf, if you can share that application note, because a couple of customers have also shown interest in the same application, MAB and this one, glycan analysis. Mainly goes to the biopharma and CRO related applications.
I can share it with you, no problem. I will check it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thanks. So next question is it possible to find all the phytochemicals present in a plant by this technique?
Yes, the tricky thing is to get the separation, to separate all those plants, all those plant compounds. But yes, the ELSD is very, very often used. We have a lot of application in the Chinese pharmacopoeia. where they do analyze plants and they use ELSD because it's universal to see all the contents in the plant. Yes, clearly.
All right.
In fact,
Next
some of the
question. Yes.
customers, some of our customers are already using for this application, phytochemicals. This is in CMFRI in Kochi and Spice Research in Calicut. These are all the customers we are already using for phytochemical application.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So the next question is, do we need to calibrate detector for quantification analysis, and how often do we need to do that?
It's a detector for HPLC, so it will be exactly the same as the UV. If you work on a qualified environment, it's usually recommended to do quantification. I mean, to do the response curve every time you do a run. With the ELSD, I do recommend to do this kind of thing. So at first you do the plots of your standards and then you do your quantification. It's the best to do. You can work with it exactly as you do with a UV. It's the same.
Okay. Now the next question is, can linearity and other validation parameters be possible by ELSD? And is quantitation possible?
Yes, yes. So in fact, the ELSD is a non-linear detector, as I showed you with the honey application. In most cases, it's linear. So when I do a validation, the first thing I check in the range of concentration I want to study is to check about the linearity. And if it's not linear, I go for a quadratic or a polynomial fitting that I simply activate in the software I use. It can be Lab Solution or OpenLab or whatever. You have the quadratic or polynomial fitting. So you just have to activate it for the ELSD and then you can do your validation with that.
All right. And do we need standards for quantification?
Yes, of course. If you want to do validation, you need the standards. However, since the response coefficients are very homogeneous, if you want just to do an investigation about an unknown product, you can do it with another standard. So you have the two options. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is it possible to analyze a mixture of anionic, cationic, and non-ionic surfactants using ELSD?
Sure, sure. It's exactly the same application I show you for the APIs with the Trinity P1. The thing is to get the separation. So you have to use a multimodal column or even a helic column. It should work too to get the separation of all those compounds. But all those solutes will be detected by ELSD for sure.
All right. So the next question is it possible to analyze enzyme activity by ELSD?
I did not get your question. Sorry.
He's talking about enzymes.
Oh, enzymes. Yeah, it's not volatile, so it will be detected. No problem. No problem.
Yeah.
Fine. So next question is, can we use more than 90% aqueous in mobile phase? In such case, what temperature do we need to set in?
No problem. The application I showed you with urea, you know, with the slope and the low temperature analysis, it was pure water at 1 milliliter a minute. And you have seen with the noise value that at 34 degrees, we are able to evaporate 1 ml a minute of pure water. So there is no limitation about the water content. And the temperature for 1 ml a minute is 34, 35 degrees. And if you increase the flow rate, you will increase a bit the temperature.
Okay. So the next question is, there is one more detector which is being shown as a proprietary technology, which is a CAD detector. So if we are considering CAD and ELSD, what are the parameters by which we will be comparing the two?
So if I go back to the way a CAD works, it's an evaporative detector such as ELSD. We share the same first steps, nebulization and evaporation. The main difference is the detection. So we use light diffusion, while the CAD is using a transfer of charge, such as APCI, and then detection of charged particles. But on the bench, it's exactly an evaporative light scatter. It's an evaporative detector. If we compare the sensitivity, I told you the last CAD, which is Corona VO, has exactly the same sensitivity as the CELEX 100. For the applications on the parameters, it's almost the same. However, the Corona is not a low temperature evaporative detector, which does mean that it's a little bit less universal than the ELSD from SEDEX, the LT-ELSD, and you will have some problems for detecting semi-volatile solutes. It's likely to happen.
All right. Thank you.
Also, what I understand from some of our user who uses both CAD detector as well as our ELSD detector. Number one, the cost of ownership is very, very high in terms of CAD detector. I do not know, they are suggesting the HPLC configuration with an additional pump if it has to be used with the CAD detector. Am I right, Rudolph?
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So the next question is, can we analyze pesticide residues in food or water in ppb level as ELSD is universal?
You will detect it, but not at those levels. For those levels, there is no choice of mass spectrometry with dedicated method. But if you are not looking for ppb levels, you will be able to detect it, but ELSD is not sensitive enough to go on those levels of sensitivity.
Okay. So there is one more question for Mr. S.R. Manivanan. Sir, what is your opinion on the cost of maintenance, on cost of ownership of a ZR ELSD?
Yeah, as I already explained to you, the cost of ownership for ZR ELSD is very, very less. And we are very much confident about the ruggedness of the system. That's why we offer a 3-year warranty for the system. And AMC, we are charging very, very less. We can send you, it depends on the configuration. If you'd like to have it along with the HPLC or a separate ELSD detector alone, probably let him share his phone number. I can talk to him and support him, not a problem. You can take his mail ID and phone number.
Yes.
He will communicate it.
Sure. So we have a lot more questions. We have more than 65 questions now. So we have taken up some of them. For the rest of the questions, we are sorry, to want of time, we won't be able to answer all of them. But we will send a reply by email. So we are closing the discussion now. So once again, thank you, a very big thank you to Dr. Penanik for giving his time for this presentation. Thank you to Cedere. And I would also like to thank Mr. S.R. Manivanan for this initiative about this educative series on sharing the learning. So we also have one more webinar tomorrow that will be focused on flash chromatography. So I will share the link with all of you, and that would also be an informative session. We hope today's session was very informative to you. All your questions and doubts were cleared with respect to ELSD, and you were able to learn more about the applications in pharmaceuticals and food analysis. I now request Mr. S.R. Manivanan to say a few words before we close the session.
Yeah. Thank you, Devansh. And on behalf of Spinco and all the customers, I would like to thank Rudolph. In fact, today the whole day he is dedicated for India, especially Spinco. Morning we had our internal training starting from 10:30 to 1:30. That is 6:30, 7 o'clock France time. So without taking the breakfast, he was really supporting us. And also, I thank Sadre and Rudolph for their outstanding support and also offering a very special offer of 3-year comprehensive warranty, including consumable. Certainly, this is a great value addition or great support to all our Indian customers. And thanks for also providing us the special exchange offers, which some of our customers are using old ELSDs more than 7-8 years. I think they can take the advantage of that for replacing with the new detector. To all the participants, I hope the session was very informative. Please post your postings. If not already you have posted in Q&A, you can send us a mail. You can send mail to info@spincotech.com. We will certainly reply to you. You want any other informations on chromatography, either it's HPLC or any other technique or flash chromatography or ELSD, please do refer to us. We have our application team who can provide you the most perfect answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you all the participants. Also do
Thank
follow
you.
us on LinkedIn. We have been coming up with a lot of new webinars. So stay updated, follow us on LinkedIn. Once again, thank you, Dr. Penanik. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Manivan. Thank you very much.